Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hey, Michael.
Look who's with me. Peter Reckell is with me. It's so good to see you.
You too, man. It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been a while. You're in a very scenic background back there.
Yeah, it's so strange up here. Beginning of March, usually you'd look out here and see 3 or 4 feet of snow. There's nothing. There's no snow here in Anchorage. It is global weirding.
Oh, are you liking it there?
Oh yeah, I'm loving it. I discovered last year. I got my balloon tired bike out, put studs on the tires. I rode all summer long or all winter long, and I'm halfway through the season now, and I'm about ready to get my my summer bike back out.
I can't follow you guys. Like you globetrot all over the world.
Oh,
Like every time I talk to you, you're in New Zealand, you're in Alaska. I'm like, what time zone are we on to
yeah,
do this?
we're right here. We're just the sun is setting. We gain like I don't know an hour a day or something. I think we're up to 10 hours of light a day. But yeah, we're an hour behind Los Angeles. We have our
Yes.
own time zone here. Well, this is, you know.
I know. It's big time. You have your own Peter, it is so good to see you. So many people are here in the chat with us. They're so looking forward. They're saying hi, hi, hi. I will get to many of them in a moment for you, but it's so wonderful to see you and always great to talk with you. And, I think we go so far back, you and I,
So far.
decades. Isn't
Yeah.
that amazing? Like you think about it. I'm just
No, I
like,
don't want to think about it. I
I
was
don't
thinking about
either.
it last night, what we're going to talk about and stuff, and I was like, 42 years I've been involved with this show. That's crazy.
Did
42.
you?
I'm not even 42 years old.
I was amazed that you're only 41. So I was like, how did that work? How did you get younger and I got older? I'm just trying to figure that out. But but when you created when Bro came on the canvas, when you came to the show, at what point when did you know like I've really got something with this part? When was there a moment where was it the fandom or did you know before it got all crazy?
No, I didn't know really about it until Kristian and I both talk about it. Our moment when we went to New Orleans.
You missed
And
that one.
yeah, when we went to New Orleans, we're flying to New Orleans on this remote, so excited, and we've told this story so many times, and we land and we hear this band playing our song. Oh, and it was this so many people, and we finally get through a crowd of people and get in the car. We look at each other like, what the heck was that? And it obviously took us a few days to get used to it, but or even for it to sink in. But after that, you go back to the studio where there's none of that craziness, and we just try to calm each other. And that was the moment, that New Orleans event.
Well, I want to just take it to one thing. So I remember it was 2015, and this was it. Bo was gone, like gone. And I remember Stephen Nichols giving this just beautiful performance. You were gone, and
you were dead. Your performance.
You were dad. You were wonderful, dad. But that was the end of what we thought was the end. For all intents and purposes,
Wow.
All of us, including myself, were like, "Oh gosh, no more Peter, no more Bo." Did you?
And Ken promised me that he wouldn't bring Bo back without me being there. And it's daytime. That the possibility of Bo coming back is always hanging in the air someplace. And I that was amazing for Ken to say that, because having been there for 30 years, it would have been jarring to have somebody else come in.
It was so sad though. Would you remember like Steven acting over you while you're dead and he was like doing these? Do you remember? I just remember going, oh my God.
You know, what I remember with Steven was when we had when we had the scene in the park where we're both just sitting on the grass talking, and you know, and he realized what's going on with me, and I get up to leave, and he's just holding my hand, and I had to go back and just give him a hug, and you know, that hug just meant everything, because you know, he's my best friend, and it was, you know, it was a pretty powerful moment for me, and I believe for him.
It was I talked to him about it, and I remember it was. So we go into, all of a sudden, it's like, I believe 2022, Beyond Salem happens, Beyond Salem chapter 2, and Bo is going to come back now. Bo is there, or he's in your back.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like for you during that whole period from 2015? It was what, 7-8 years before we saw you again on the show?
Well, I did come back for what was it? Just like one show, so that Hope could move on. I came back as a ghost.
That's right.
To give her Hope permission to move on, and to other relationships. There was that, but then I got a call out of the blue from Albert, and he said, we're planning this heaven thing. And I hadn't been paying attention to the show. And it was like, heaven, what do you mean? And he filled me in, and he was going to try to do it while I was in New Zealand. And then for us, the pandemic happened, and my parents had both passed, and we just wanted to be back in the States where we were closer to our families in case of things like that. And Kelly was working on a documentary that took place, you know, the information was coming out of Alaska, so, which is doing really well right now, actually. And so we decided to come up here so we could be close to her family and her father at this important time. And so because of that, I was able to come onto the show, because they'd already filmed that scene or taped that scene with another actor. And then suddenly I was on. So those first scenes with my daughter and her father of her child and little Bo Jr.
Oh, Bo.
They had taped those scenes with the other actor. And so when I taped it with some stand-ins for us.
That's right. I remember hearing this. Yes.
And the crazy thing about it is people were like, wow, your chemistry is so good. Because obviously we hadn't worked together before. And I was like, yeah, but we weren't working with each other.
You're talking with Victoria Conifal, with Sierra. Yeah. I remember that. Yes.
So it was great to be back. You know, and like, you know, that old saying, like riding a bike and getting back in the sandbox and having some fun.
Well, I do remember there was this, right? You see this, right? The picture of you guys.
That was the next time we came back.
Yes.
And Hope came up to heaven. She died, came up to heaven. I said, get your butt back down there. Our kids need you. And so she went back.
Right. So you have that. And then at what point did they tell you, okay, guess what? Bo's been in a cryogenic chamber. We're going to bring him back to life. And he's been kidnapped by Megan Hathaway and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, were you like, what?
No, well, it was kind of cool what they came up with for that whole segment, because Ron, the coming out of cryogenics and Bo leaning toward his Cryogenics DNA was great. I mean, it was brilliant, because, you know, having, you know, mind meld or whatever, people being hypnotized and stuff like that. It was like, well, no, Bo's got the Cryogenics DNA. He can be more of that. So it was kind of like the Princess Gina storyline when Kristian came back and she was Princess Gina, and it took, however long, it was quite a while. And then you had that magic moment of her, open the music box and her reciting the poem, and suddenly Bo and Hope were back together. And that's a technique that with coming when I came back that last time, that's what I thought was going to happen, because we had that moment right at the end where I said fancy face, so Bo was back, and boom, I get shot, so I'm in a coma.
So upset.
So you assume that fairly soon you're going to have Bo and Hope come back and have this moment that's coming up in early summer. So, but you had writer strikes and pandemic and all that kind of stuff, which probably got in the way. You never know. Oh, I got
we're losing your face a little bit.
The sun is coming. The sun is setting over here.
There, Alaska. Damn you, Alaska.
I have to sit up.
Yeah, I was there. I can see you now.
Are we good now?
Yes. Wait.
Well, and that I gotta say something, because a lot of fans were really upset about how that portion ended. We wanted our Bo and Hope back, and I learned a lesson a long time ago from Al Rabin, and when Bo and Hope were, who was it? Oh, she was up the whole storyline with Larry Welch and all that. I went into him and I said, what is going on here? What is happening? Why is this, why are Bo and Hope not together? And he said, Pete, let me tell you how things go with storylines. You keep the lovers apart as long as you can, because once they're together, it's kind of hard for the writing. What do you do from there? And, we had that whole storyline with Larry Welch and how you gonna, and then you had the moment riding up on the motorcycle. It was all that buildup where the audience, he said, you want the audience to be screaming at the TV. And you know what? Watching stuff with my girls now, they're always screaming at the TV with drama that we love. And so that's what the moment, the last time I was on, that's what happened. The audience was screaming at the TV, Bo and Hope, you got to get together. And then they had that moment, and
that's
what happened.
It is kind of remarkable, though, when you think about it, that we all, and the pop culture of America, and probably we care that we want, like, here we are decades later, and we're like, oh, don't do this to Bo and Hope, right? Like, we're all so invested. That's crazy. You know what I mean? That's just like, think about it, in the world we are now where everything gets chewed up and fast food and over with, but not Bo and Hope, like this enduring legacy of this couple.
Isn't that nuts?
It is nuts. We're like, don't kill him.
Because when we were doing that, taping that stuff, there was the whole fan event that happened, and Kristian and I, we were so busy, we had to do it virtually. But again, it was like the moment in New Orleans where we're like, what? They still remember this? They're still that passionate about Bo and Hope. It was another moment like that to think.
Ariette here says, Michael, because they're Bo and Hope, iconic ship and one of the best pairings of all time. Yes, I agree. But see, right? Like,
I'm going to have to stand up here in a minute with the sun.
I told you we should have had you live in LA instead of Alaska.
From your lips, yeah, it would have been good to be there.
Yeah, but to your point, so you land in the coma. Your son Sean shoots you.
Yeah.
So there's stuff to play, and there's stuff hung over. You did have those scenes. What was it like working with Miranda Wilson?
Oh yeah, Miranda. She was awesome, was she not?
Yes.
She's so evil, and creepy. I got creeped out. She was, and we would laugh when the scene would end. We would laugh, and we're like, "Whoa, that was creepy." She was great. It was that whole, and to be able to do, like Kristian was able to do with the Princess Gina storyline. I mean, she was amazing having, being that person, and exercising as an actor to do something different when you're in a character as long as we have been, and to be able to be in that character yet not quite, and do something different it's a lot of fun, and it was. I just had a great time.
Well, Jessica is like, okay, can we also talk the beautiful chemistry Peter has with Mary Beth? Favorite brother, sister on Daytime. Absolutely.
Yeah. She and I posted the other day, you have those friends where you see each other and you hadn't seen each other for years, and it's like you just had coffee the other day. So she's just a sweetheart, and we're always joking that she's like, "You're my younger brother." Was it that? That's going to be going on forever.
That'll be going for but they are great. Like Bo and Kayla, you love their scenes because you really get the whole brother sister. I mean,
yeah. Hey, Cal, can you come up here for a second? Bring load, and I'm going to disappear in a minute. Hello.
We have the shrinking man in Alaska.
The sun is coming down, and apparently when the sun is on me, so can we put something over there? Loden has some cards or the cardboard over there.
Okay.
Turn up the shades. Well, anyway, so yeah, Mary Beth, awesome. Yeah. And she apparently got a Emmy or something when she did that.
Yes, she won
the at the end. Yeah. No, those won't work, baby. So, and she deserved it. She's just such a awesome. Could you get Loden? She has some stuff downstairs.
Okay.
I want to talk to you about some people.
Because card stuff. Sorry.
I want to talk to you about some people because we have literally watched, and I always consider myself like an extended person for days, but it's been tough because we've lost so many of the beloved performers over time. And I found this picture. Look at this group.
Yeah.
There's Francis and Bill, you, Kristian. I mean, some people.
That was the thing. Coming back to the back to the show this time. There's so many of the people who are just so important to me, like Peggy Ma. She was such a powerful part of Bo, and not just Bo, but the center of the Brady family, the nucleus, the touchstone of the Brady family. As a matter of fact, I was thinking of her last night, and when there you go, and thank you, baby, when I had to for the Emmys, you had to send in some scenes, and they would look at them, and I was never any good to be objective on that, and so I had a buddy of mine who was an editor look at them, and I'd say about half the time the scenes that I used were scenes with her, so because she was just so powerful, and hey, no, up top there you go, and on the other
part we just need to let you hear.
Not too much.
There.
And I don't know, maybe that's why I never got an Emmy, because they were watching those scenes and damn, she's good.
No, but didn't you submitted the scenes with Peggy, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that her goodbye when she left the show? Or
no, I wasn't there when she left. I don't think.
Well, I thought Bo took Caroline to the Clintons to help, right?
And that's when I left. So, but
yes.
she came back she came back from California, and I was on the phone from California. And then, I don't know, a year or two later, then I came back. Oh, yeah, came back, and that's when I came back for the death of Bo. So, yeah. So I wasn't there when Peggy finally left, but she was just a powerful little person.
Well, she was a great actress before Days of Our Lives. I mean, people knew her. She had her work. She was in so many primetime shows. She worked.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew Peggy McKay before she even came on Days of Our Lives. I knew who Peggy McKay was.
Well, you know. And Frances was that way back in the day, right? Because she was a actress. Yeah, you know, I've been so freaking lucky to have worked with all these people. I mean, talk about John. He's the thing I've referred to is his line was you'd never catch him acting, and that you never did. He was just a presence, and you know, going and running lines with him, he'd always have a couple of jokes to lighten up the atmosphere, and then we'd run lines and standing there on stage looking at him. He was just my dad, and when he passed away, it hit kind of hard because my mom and dad had passed away the year before, and whew, that was a hard one when they got that, you know, we heard that John had passed. It was a tough one, and you know, and you just go down the line with Wayne recently.
I want to talk about Wayne for a minute because, you know, you and Wayne were the brothers. It was Bo and Roman. And you were the little brother, the rebellious brother. And if you think about it, if it wasn't for Roman, would we have had a Bo? Because right? And
you know, that relationship was the strongest relationship. People remember, you know, Bo and Hope, but there were so many strong relationships like that with my older brother and my mom. All those relationships had all the dynamics that were just so amazing. That first day when I came in with Dee and Jim and Wayne, I remember that day so well 42 years ago, because the three of them, they were the powerhouses of daytime TV. And there was no ego there. And they just put their arms around me and let me do what I do, you know. And
what do you remember about when you met Wayne? Did you guys hit it off or no?
Oh, from the very beginning. I mean, he was always like my big brother. Because I looked up to him, and you know, personally, and to have that be part of the you know, on screen relationship, and I just had to add, you know, I don't want to be, you know, the rebellious part. He was such a prankster all the time. He is like John. He had his routine where he made things comfortable. Wayne was the same way. I remember the one prank I remember is we were on the story. He was in prison, and Mrs. H and I were getting him out, and he had to go into an ambulance. And I had a hiding place in the ambulance. There was like a box above the wheel well that I hid in had a top to it, and that's where I hid and made an appearance and knocked the person out and grabbed Wayne or whatever it was. But when we were rehearsing it, I was just listening for my cue in the rehearsal, and Wayne had gotten out of the bed and sat on top of the thing. So I'm like, oh, I'm stuck in this little thing. That's when I noticed I was really kind of claustrophobic. Oh. He wouldn't let me out.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, people here, Leonora's saying, I mean, come on, Bo and Roman on the beach when Roman dies, heartbreaking. I'll never forget it. Peter, do you know that still holds up? I mean,
powerful stuff.
do you remember that, doing that? And was that like the last day you thought of that was it for Wayne on the show at that point, or?
Yeah. Nobody knew what, like you said, on daytime, you never know when it's going to be the last day. And and you kind of thank the writers and the producers for seeing those relationships and really fleshing them out so that when that moment happened, the audience was so invested in these brothers and in this family that it really hit them hard. Yeah, I did my part, but the writers really gave us some powerful stuff.
Yeah. And I remember him starting on the show before you came on, when they assigned him as a cop to protect Marlena. Like that's how they end up getting together.
Yeah.
Who's this guy? Like, I didn't know, I was like, who's this guy? And later he turns out to be, he was iconic in his own way before, He
and Dee were the super couple that, Bo and Hope followed.
I have this photo and I just couldn't believe it. It's like, there they are. I mean, and it's just so mind-boggling, and that they're both gone, Drake and Wayne. And when Drake came to the show, and he was Roman at that point, what was your relationship?
It took him. He went through several.
Well, it was 9,000 people.
Personalities before he arrived at Roman. I got the story with Drake was, one of his very early on for him. We did that remote at Kern River where we had all the river rafting and stuff. And he and I had to do a fight. And this was before they started hiring stunt coordinators and stuff. And he and I were working out this fight. It was quite a long fight. And so we're, still working on it. And we got about halfway through it. And I thought I had to do this. And he thought he had to do that. And his elbow met my lip and blew it open. And
oh, that's right. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And I had to go to some hick doctor and they sewed it up and I think we were there for like 3 more days and I had to talk about the Beavis with this big old lip. But the thing about it is, every time he and I had, a dozen fights after that for, some reason. I guess they like to see us fight.
And there you are. You got blood in your head here.
Every time he and I had a fight, he said, "No, you can go ahead and kick me hard." And I was like, "Drake, it was an accident." He felt so bad about that forever. That was the kind of person he was. He just had the biggest heart you could ever have. And that's the energy that he had. He'd walk on a set and the impact he had for Days of Our Lives and everybody he met is just, that's a big hole for that cast. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was looking at something. There's another. Here you guys are again. I have so many. And Stefano's dead in the casket. And Joe, it's just like, oh my God. Well, I love Drake so much. He was just such a wonderful, wonderful man. And
he made, at his young age, he was the best grandfather ever. He had these stories. I'm sure you've heard his stories. And he's got this memory that remembers every detail of the story. So you just sit there like, what? And then what happened? And I was like, how does all that happen to one person?
He remembers everything. He can tell a story and act all the things. Like, this is what happened. This kid did this. And I remember with Deidre, we'd be doing these interviews and I'm like, so remember when the da-da-da happened? And she's like, what? And then he
And
remembers the whole thing.
every
I
detail.
whatever he,
Yeah.
he remembered everything.
Yeah.
And do you remember the last time you saw him by any chance?
It would have been, oh man, was he at the Brady pub? There was like a get together at the Brady pub just before I passed away.
Oh,
Not sure he was there.
no.
You know what? I don't remember the last time that Bo and Roman were together.
Oh, and John.
John, yeah, sorry. John. No, I don't remember.
Did you think the whole thing, what was it like for you when they were like trying to figure out who Drake was and all the different, the pawn and the this and the that and the pawn, the priest, the pawn, the this, and were you like, did you guys laugh about it at all, or how was that with you guys?
No, I mean, by then I was used, I've been on the show for 5-6 years, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, and you get used to that kind of stuff. I mean, when they're trying to figure out where he's going to fit in, and what the head writers do is just astounding. They're writing a movie every 3 or 4 days, and it's a continuing thing. And I mean, all the relationships I had with Mrs. H down to my children, to my brothers and sisters and people I worked with, they were all incredibly strong relationships, and to have these writers keep all that, and that was just me, to have on the other story, what they do is just, thank you so much. Hats off to you. It's just astounding.
They're asking me to ask you, Michelle, ask Peter what his first thought was when he met Kristian Alfonso. What's your first impression of Kristian Alfonso?
She was just so beautiful, so open, so innocent, that it was kind of similar to what our characters were, and it just locked in. And our state of, what we do for a living is pretend, and it made our job so easy, just to look at each other and pretend this, what we were playing. She just made it so easy, and and just a few days of getting into it, and to see that her work ethic was the same as mine, and we'd work as hard as we could to make every moment special. So fairly lucky to have had that relationship develop.
One of the things I'll always remember is your scenes with Bill Hayes, with Doug. He did not want he didn't want his daughter with Bo, and he was at first.
And he understood, because he was the original bad boy.
He's a bad.
He knew, he knew from experience that this guy on the motorcycle is not for my daughter.
I just remember him not being happy, and then finally there was a moment when he did and finally embrace Bo into the family and accept him. Bill was literally, I've never seen anybody up until the end acting. He was acting all the way to as long as he couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a long time. I remember the things I remember with him are not so much of our characters, and I'd go in and start talking to him. And once you opened him up, and he'd start telling his stories of being a pilot, and it's such and he had this huge family that had these huge family reunions in Michigan, up in Traverse City, where I love to go. I was like, can I come? It sounds like an amazing time.
And when he passed, how that must have been also difficult for you. I mean, because it was just like I was just thinking, like, you were all of these amazing people. They were just the greatest people on days.
That was the thing about going back this time, is I had to as Bo, I had to hear all this information, and whew, we had some powerful, very intense shows coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you look back at all of this, and is it overwhelming for you, or do you have a sense of like gratitude that you got to be with all these people? And like when you look at it now, what do you think of like?
Yeah, this is, Loden asked me a question the other day. She got into a play and we were talking about it and stuff. And she looked at me and said, Dad, what character would you like to play if you could play any character? And I was like, we talked about in reality or real people or made up, fiction or nonfiction. And as we were talking about that, I was like, you know what? I have been playing the best character I could ever ask for. I mean, who gets to do what I've done as this character? And to have, ride horses, ride a motorcycle, go up in a hot air balloon, and have the kind of relationships I had with these people these actors that we've been talking about, who have, just so freaking lucky to have worked with people of the stature of Bill and John and Peggy and all of them. Francis, they're just amazingly powerful people, and I have got to experience every kind of emotion that you can have as an actor or as a person for that matter. And, from your kid passing away to marrying a beautiful woman and having a grandmother like Francis Reed, all these relationships that were so amazingly powerful and with the astounding people that you got to do it with.
It's so amazing, Peter. It really is. I don't know any man, woman, like anyone that got to play this kind of character with these people. It's just, I mean, what a wonderful legacy for yourself. And you should be so proud. It's amazing. Amazing. Just listing off these people is amazing. And everybody here just, like Connie's saying, indeed, it's been amazing for us fans. It has been amazing.
Well, and the fans too, from the very beginning, that moment I was talking about in New Orleans, to have fans like this that are so passionate. I don't know that if we ever had more fans than any other soap, but I do know that our fans were always extremely passionate and vocal and telling, and now that they're on social, things are so different now, with everybody being able with social media and stuff. I'm still trying to deal with it, but man, to have that passion that they have is kind of amazing.
Soap Sapsic is how funny was Francis Reed? She had a potty mouth, right? A bit of a potty mouth.
Her sense of humor, and I've said this over and over in many interviews, I think, but she and I would get in so much trouble. We'd be taping a scene, and she had all this experience, and there'd get to be a point where they'd ask us something, and she'd joke to me about it, and I'd joke to her about it off screen, and just start laughing, and the two of us would get each other going, giggling, and come on, you're over the. Come on, get yourself together.
What did she want to? How did it happen? Like that they decided they must have saw your on-screen chemistry, or did she say, "I want to work more with Peter"? Like, how did they decide? Like, Bo and Grandma are going to be like tight.
I have no idea. All I can do is give credit to the writers and the producers, because that's one thing about daytime TV is they have the advantage of watching what their actors do. And then, like Bill, he sang on the show so many times, and awesome talent. And, he got to do that on the show. And they you have a scene with, me getting in trouble. You can't call her Mrs. H. I was like, why not? And then the first time I said Doc H, should have thought somebody can't say that. I said Doc H. There was this pause in the booth. Some discussion was going on in there. Hold it, what? I don't know how many minutes went by. Fine. Okay, let's do that again. So, getting away with that stuff, and just so proud of Al Raven and Shelley Curtis and whoever was writing. The head writers are always they're kind of the boss of everybody, because they have to be inspired, and I just got to thank them for having the guts to write what they did for Bo and Hope, because I don't know that. Do you see people riding motorcycles on TV, on daytime TV?
Well, we can't take people out on location much anymore.
Not anymore. No. Yeah. But
you guys got to go places. Right?
Yeah. It was very fortunate time that we had that, that they had the money to go out and do this kind of thing.
Tia's asking, when Bo woke up from the dead just to go back in a coma, were you a little concerned that Bo and Hope fans would not get closure?
At that time, no. I was like, I had a concern. I went into the producers and was like, so this is how it's ending, and from the producers I got, yep, this is the network approved of this. I was like, oh, okay. So I just assumed, like any other storyline, you'd have the rest of it. And for whatever reason, the rest of it didn't happen until now. And I can apologize to the fans and say I'm sorry that they've had to wait for this moment for Bo and Hope to come back. It's it'll be almost around 2 years that they've had to wait, and I wish I knew why or what, but none of that really matters. It's happening, and hopefully they won't have to wait very long after this till Bo and Hope return.
Did you like working with Jason Cook?
Oops. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very
Jason was Sean for everybody. And I remained friends with Jason over the years.
Good. I've been wondering, where is he?
He's here in LA, not in Alaska. He's here in LA. And he does films.
That's what I
he likes to. I think he likes being behind the camera better than in front.
You know what? He was on the show for, I don't know, 6 or 8 months or something like that, and one of the producers came to me and said, his ratings are better than yours. I was like,
and you're like, okay.
Yeah. People loved him. So, yeah. But he is talented in what he's chosen to do. I saw the first thing he did, whatever it was, 12 years ago. And yeah, he's, those kind of relationships where, I'm just a physical guy, and my people who played my children had to get used to me hugging them and kissing them, and he was on board for, let's take the relationship to, because I think his parents were the same way with him. He has loving parents, and so he was used to. But at first, what you gonna okay? But yeah. That our relationship, that was another one, just worked out great.
I was Knots Landing is now you can watch it on, you can watch all the episodes now. So you can go to Prime Video, you can watch it. And I was watching your stuff with Johnny. And
Oh,
I remember, oh, wait, there was one season you had the accent and then you
yeah.
didn't have the accent. So there was a story there, right? Did they just say lose the accent or did you say I want to lose the accent?
It was
And you
very
were working
simple.
with, wait, you were working with Nicola Sheridan.
Yeah, she was awesome.
She's an
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Okay.
And some TV magazine said the sexiest couple or something. I forget which one. Yeah, we had a great time together. She was game for anything, and so much fun. Yeah, the accent, like on daytime, people go in the shower and come out a different actor. The accent was the same thing. Okay, new season, not doing that, not doing the accent.
Was that a fun experience for you? Or how was
Oh,
it? Knots? Knots is my favorite all-time show.
oh,
So
really?
yeah,
I'm,
I know Donna Mills, Michelle Lee, Joan Van Ark very well.
yeah,
So
so
yeah,
much fun. I didn't get to work a heck of a lot with
I know.
all of them, but yeah, to do basically what I was doing on Days of Our Lives, and okay, today we're just doing one scene. It was a walk in the park, but so much fun. Are they doing that with other daytime soap operas, where you could go back and see all the old episodes?
Kind of, no.
Hmm.
I mean, they just never have really done it so you can really go into a repository and like, oh, I want to watch the 1973. You don't see it that much.
Oh, okay.
Randy is asking, what about Frank Parker? Loved him too, and those scenes when John died were so heartbreaking. We're talking about that was up in the airplane, right?
Yeah, yeah. Frank was the second pop, I think.
Yeah.
They were both amazing. And Frank, he just, sort of like John, he was just there, and his emotions were right on top. It didn't take much and that's who Pop was. He would explode, and every time I saw him, I had to give him a hug. He was, just like Peggy too. Mom and Pop were mom and pop, and they, that's a thing with, when you are on a show for that long and you have these relationships with the people who are playing important people in your life as the character, and then you have scenes like that with Frank. It's kind of cheating. There's not much acting going on, because these are people. These are people you love and who are, part of your heart. So,
I mean, that's another one. It was just, and Mysterio's asking, does Peter miss all the action-packed storylines of the 80s and 90s? Do you miss those, or do you like the more subdued stuff?
I'm all for the action.
That's what I thought too.
All for the action. Somebody put on YouTube a thing of all my fights, and it goes on for like 15
5
minutes.
hours.
I was like, whoa, whoever put that on, that must have taken forever. But yeah, like I said, riding a horse, riding a motorcycle, give me any kind of action and I'm up for it. So yeah.
Do you have a favorite? Did you have an all-time favorite story that you've done on the show?
I've been asked that question and
times probably,
but like the first thing that came to mind is my best friend. That relationship with Steve was, it came to the show having so many layers of, me cutting his eye out because we fought over this girl who we both were having a relationship with, and him, that relationship had so many levels, to have and turns out, he's the one that rescued me when I went back for that short time, for the time when Bo passed away. And, the moment you started out this interview with he and I, again, I kind of sometimes when we're having scenes like that, I kind of feel cheating because you have this relationship with this person, and Steve has always been up for anything that we're doing, and we got to play so many different things. Again, so fortunate, like the stuff with John, where you start out being pissed off at each other and angry, and it develops into a love relationship, and where he and I loved each other, and then in the our backstory, and then we're enemies, and then it's having those. I just again can't thank the writers enough for those layered relationships.
I had talked to Stephen after Drake had passed. I think that was the hardest interview to talk to him about, because he was so emotional, and I had been thinking about him so much when Drake had passed, because I know they were very close.
Yeah, apparently they got to work together a lot those last few years. So
they had paired them all the time. They paired them all the time.
I'm sure that Steve was, I'm sure, just blown away by that. And it was the same with Susan. I saw her just after Bill had passed, and it's just difficult with you can't really getting through something like that. It just takes time. Yeah, it takes time.
It takes time. She's been absolutely the amazing work that she's done on camera. Susan has told the story of a grieving, like she's telling the story of what's happening to her, but through Julie and real. It's been pretty amazing what she's been able to do. I don't know if I could have done what she did.
Well, and Dee and doing the thing she's doing with on-screen stuff, talking about her John passing away is just, how do you do that?
Let me just see this. When you first got cast as Bo, did you ever hear of or know of Days? Did you know of Days of Our Lives when you got cast on the show?
No, I never watched daytime TV. When I got the role, I had, I think, almost like 3 weeks or something like that which was fun because that's, as you noticed if you watch those first shows, my wardrobe was me. I brought everything. The first.
So you brought the jackets and the T-shirts?
Most of the T-shirts I brought in. That leather jacket I brought in. Pretty much everything, because I wore the boots out. What was that original question? I went off on a tangent there.
Well, I just want to go into this here. Okay. Peter Stanley Brock's widow, Mary, sends her best from Wisconsin. She appreciates how great you were with Stanley. What's a fun memory you have of him playing Howie Hofstadter?
Every moment. Every moment with that man. He was so much fun. Oh, thanks for sending that. That's great. He was,
Thanks, Neva.
And again, writers bringing somebody like him into the show. It was just so much fun. Every time we worked together, it was a blast. Him and his whole personality. It was just amazing. I had so much fun with him.
Chloe, curious if you have memories from your time on As the World Turns, and did you ever stay in touch with anyone from that time on the show? Because you were on As the World Turns before you.
Yeah, I was on the As the World Turns for a couple of years. I didn't really stay in touch with anybody because I moved. That show took place in New York, or taped in New York, and I moved out to California very, very shortly after that gig was over. So no, didn't hang on to many of those relationships or any of those relationships.
Were you got As the World Turns first, right? So what did you think of that? Was your first soap opera, right? So were you like, I don't want to do this? Were you
It was,
I don't want to do a soap?
well, this one was As the World Turns. I did because I was in New York trying to be a song and dance man.
Right.
I got a manager, and at that time you could work with any agent you wanted, who's interested in you. And she said, "So you want to do this Broadway stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Oh, why don't you do some TV, and then you can do any show you want?" I was like, "Okay." And so started going out for anything and everything, and got As the World Turns. And my last day there, I did the show where I got married. And when I went to my dressing room, there was a bottle of champagne on my dressing table saying, "Hey, thanks for your time here. You're not coming back." I was like, "Oh, okay."
My God.
Thanks for the heartfelt goodbye. And then shortly after that, I moved out to California and got an agent. And my agent would say, "Yeah, this soap opera has, you can go audition for this." And I was like, "No, I'm going to do nighttime TV and movies." And so I did a couple little things, facts of life and things like that. And finally, my agent said, "This casting director is on my butt and wants you to come in for Days of Our Lives." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went in for Days and had like 4 callback things before the screen test, and changed my life. Don't say no to doors that open. That's a lesson I learned.
We were talking about Howie, but remember this? When you got to reconnect with Andrew and say it was Larry Welch originally, and he was in hell.
Yeah.
What was it like reconnecting with him after all those years?
Having somebody where on screen you're just at each other and off, he again has a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
All these amazing actors have an amazing sense of humor, and he's another one. And so yeah, we at that time they neither of us lived in LA, so we were staying at the hotel nearby. And one evening we got together. Oh, because we had the scenes, and I don't think we might have gone through the scene a couple of times. We sat there for hours and caught up and
it had been what, like 30 years, like decades, right? Since you've seen it?
Yeah, it'd been a couple. Yeah, probably close to 30 years, or at least 20 years since we had worked together. So caught up, had a good time.
When you look at this, look at you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, really, was the wedding in England, like, what was the England wedding fun or awful to do?
It was an experience because the build up to the wedding we taped in England, and that was a lot of fun because I didn't have a motorcycle to steal to get to the wedding. I had a horse, a police horse to steal. And when I was a kid, this was one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life. When I was a kid, like in 4th and 5th grade, we lived on like a family farm, a huge garden, a barn, and cows, and my dad grew up with horses, and so he got a horse. And with those 6 kids, I was the one. I sort of adopted the horse. So this horse, Tiger, was my horse, and so I had this horse for a couple of years, and he was everything to me. I took care of him. I rode him, and dreamed of being a cowboy. I think when I was like 3 years old, they have a picture of us, and I had a whole cowboy outfit: the hat, the vest, the chaps, and everything, boots. I always wanted to be a cowboy. If the question Loden asked me what character, I would have loved to have been on Yellowstone.
Oh yeah, that would have been great.
That would have been awesome. But yeah. Then my dad got a job. We lived in the lower part of Michigan, Lower Peninsula, and he got a job in the Upper Peninsula. We had to move like right now. And one day I came home and the horse was gone. And I was like, huh? And it wasn't my parents' fault. They had to do what they had to do in the short time they had. And having that horse go away, that just broke my heart. And it took me, I don't think I'm over it yet.
But you liked the wedding in England?
Oh, yeah.
Incredible.
Well, obviously, the wedding itself took place in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big church there. Yeah. It was, it was what we were leading. This reminded me of all the stuff we were doing there. We had a scene. I'm not sure why we ended up having to ride a bicycle.
Oh.
And Kristian had to sit on the handlebars.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And we had like hundreds of pages, not hundreds, but 100 pages of dialogue a day. So a lot of what we said was, impromptu. We were just here, get all this stuff done in a scene and go. And we struggled to get on this bike and have her get on it. And I said, get your fanny up here. And we were going on the ride. And then when we stopped, the crew was just cracking up. And I was like, what is going on? And somebody come on, Pete, fanny means something different here. I was like, oh. So, but it stayed in.
Wings is asking, loved you in the Fantastic in New York City. How did you like doing it?
You know what? I did Fantastics down in the Village right after As the World Turns. That's right. And for 2 weeks, the guy who was playing the boy was going on his 2-week vacation. So I did 2 weeks as the mute and 2 weeks as the boy. But while I was, this is something that came in handy later. While I was playing the mute, El Gallo juggles in the show. And I was like, hey, that's cool. So I learned to juggle. And that came in handy later on in Days of Our Lives when we were down in New York. And I was walking in and they did a thing with a real juggler who was on the street. And I did a thing with him. And so I did 2 weeks and 2 weeks as a boy. And during that time, I was like, El Gallo, wow, that's a great role. I want to play that role someday. And then a few days ago, Brando's hollering at somebody. And then a few years ago, they moved the show from the Village, where it at the time was the longest running musical.
Right.
And they moved it up to the Upper West Side, and they were looking for a similar kind of thing. The guy who was playing El Gallo was going on a 2-week vacation. They said, hey, you want to come and do this? So I did, and it was great.
Unbelievable. I mean, keep forgetting you have this whole other musical career that you've had.
Yeah, well, it had been a long time since I sang, and so I had to get back in shape for that. It was when we were living in Nashville, and so went up to New York and spent a few weeks up there. It was great.
I was just, before we wrap, it's amazing to me that Days of Our Lives is going to have its 60th anniversary. Incredible. That's just like a handful of shows now that have lasted that long.
Isn't that crazy?
And crazy. And I kept thinking, when things switched, from NBC to Peacock, I'm like, are they going to make it? Is it going to happen? But they've been able to somehow, with their production model and how they do the show, been able to keep it going to get to the 60th milestone. What can you say to, everybody? That's an amazing, I mean, you're a huge part of the history. All the people we've talked about are.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible to think when all the books are written about the show, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of thanks to our audience, because they have been so amazing. They're the reason the show is still there. They obviously it wouldn't be reach this milestone without this passionate audience that they have, we have. I'm not sure, you know, what do I say? It's you know, and I hope they find a way to involve Bo and Hope, you know, sometime soon, because it's I miss it.
Yeah, Peggy is saying the reason we love the 60s is because of you and Kristian.
The 60s?
60th, getting to the
60th. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been nice to have been part of that, but
Yeah. Yes.
it'll be what, you know, they obviously, whoever's deciding who's on the show, what the storylines are, they're keeping it going, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters for our audience.
Right. So a public service announcement before we wrap, everybody. So Peter is going to be at peterpaulreckell.com will be the sole place where you can get all the information and the real intel and what's going on with Peter, because there have been just so many fake accounts and people pretending to be Peter on his social media. Yeah. And that's a terrible thing where people have been doing fraud, pretending it's you and trying to make money off your name. And I just thought, if you have anything you want to say about that, but I just wanted to tell everybody, you know.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's so many, people are vulnerable, especially now with the energy out there is so crazy, and just tell each other, communicate. I'm getting off most, you know, all social media, and try to right now I'm on X, but I don't know how long that's going to last. And that's the only thing I'm on right now, except for this. So please, and, you know, take care of your family of fans. And
just to that point, there are so many people out there that are posing as celebrities of people that are taking your money, and you just have to be so careful of, you know, of who you're giving it to or what you think. And it has become that I've talked to many other actors that have faced something similar to what you have, and I've had to go on my website or social media and say, please do not give your money to this GoFundMe, or please do not do that. You know, there were people during the LA wildfires that were with Cameron and that were saying, you know, they had a GoFundMe page that wasn't his.
Yeah, somebody put up a picture of a house that was burning and said it was me, and I needed help. I needed money to help, you know, repair my house or whatever it was. It was taking advantage of a time like that is just incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I just think, you know, thank you though. At least people will know where the official Peter is.
Yeah.
PeterReckell.com. I think that's really the point. Yeah. And hopefully at some point, as things evolve, maybe you'll be able to come back and feel safe. You know, we hope.
Well, thank you for doing this and bringing me on. And, you know, I just wanted to let the fans know that I'm excited about what you're going to see here in a couple of months. And we had a great time taping it, and hang in there. It's coming up soon.
And we'll need our hankies. I know we're going to need our hankies.
Yeah, bring your.
I know we can't spoil the story, but we need our hankies. That's all I'll say. Peter, wonderful to see you. So good to see you. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Make sure to subscribe to the Michael Fairman channel. We'll be back with more interviews in this month. Peter, have a great night. Or wait, it's earlier in Alaska, so whatever it is. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.